Business Today Television. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, and with me here from Davos at our studios is a panel of top corporate leaders from India. Ajit Gulabchand, the chairman of HCC, long-time Davos veteran. We also have Manoj Menda, the chairman of the Supervisory Board at RMZ Corporation, and Tejpreet Singh Chopra, the president and CEO of the BLP Group. Welcome to our studios. I want to begin with you, Mr. Gulabchand. India Everywhere continues. This year too, on the promenade, you can see several states out there. One of the key things is the continuing resilience demonstrated by the Indian economy and the confidence of Indian CEOs that things are going to be better in our country versus what's happening globally, including the aggregate growth and, of course, various sectors that are doing very well. You represent the infrastructure sector. You've seen ups and downs in this. Where are we in today's moment when it comes to the overall economy?
Well, all round in the world there's a lot of trouble. The two wars are costing everybody, supply chain issues, fears that things will grow bigger and therefore affect us much more. And despite all this, I think India has been able to show that it can actually do something in spite of such troubles. See, the resilience of the Indian economy is coming through because after COVID, we did make a very good comeback, and that comeback is helping us now to have a foundation for a steady growth despite the troubles we are making, despite the troubles we are having all over the world. On the other side, if you see, never before have we spent so much on infrastructure per year. There was a time it seemed to look very good, but it was never more than 4%. Now we are spending almost 7 to 8% of our GDP on infrastructure, and pretty fast too. And therefore, it is giving assurance to the world that India is not only talking, is building the necessary infrastructure, making some reforms, inviting people, making concessions for them. And I think this has given India a very, very solid image now at this point of time. And there is a lot of inquiry about how can we get to India, how can we live, what business can we do.
Absolutely.
And the big presence here of the Indian delegation tells you that they are also part of the make the world aware of where India is and how it is in their benefit to come and invest in India.
Absolutely, Mr. Gulabchand. In fact, over the just past few weeks, we've seen certain marquee projects being inaugurated, opened, and one of the key stories, for example, for the Mumbai Sea Link, the new one, is the record time in which it was delivered versus what used to happen earlier. Manoj, I come to you more on real estate, which also went through a down cycle, and then a regulatory new fresh approach, and obviously COVID. Where does the real estate sector in India stand in very broad terms, because real estate contributes to many other sectors of the economy. It's perhaps the single most sector for a country and economy like India.
Thank you, Siddharth. I think real estate for us in India has been very promising. India today, the real estate industry contributes to about 7% of GDP. Now, to us, 7% seems a much larger number compared to 4% spent on infrastructure, as commented earlier. But when you compare this with some of the other economies like China, China's real estate economy contributes to 30% of GDP. So I think this is an indication that there is growth ahead for us. I think considering what, how India is positioned today, thanks to the amazing leadership that we have and the amazing reforms, I think this 7% contribution to GDP is only going to increase. And there are multiple segments within real estate that are contributing to this growth. So it's not just housing alone that we know of, it's office, it's retail, it's hospitality, and there's some emerging new alternative asset classes also that we're seeing coming up today, whether it's industrial and logistics, which we think is probably going to be the fastest growing sector, as well as data centers and healthcare. So I think India is really in a position of strength, and this is only going to get stronger as we go through 2024 and beyond.
I'll come back to you on the issue of premiumization that we've been seeing and the prospect of a continuing bull run of sorts when it comes to prices. But before I do that, Tejpreet, I'm coming to you. We've heard the infrastructure view, the real estate view, and you've been spending so many years in the green energy, renewables space, and that also perhaps could be the third major amongst a few other sectors which have a lot of bullish investor interest. How's the space picked up from when we last spoke right here a year ago?
Siddharth, first of all, great to be back in Davos and good to see you out here again in this crazy freezing cold. But it's fantastic to see the Indian turnout. It's good to see the kind of interest that India is generating. It's really India's moment right now in Davos. From an economy perspective, I think it's fantastic to see that we are now touching close to about $3.8 trillion. And I think we should be able to achieve the $5 trillion target far sooner than what was earlier expected. I think the 6.5%, 7% GDP growth that Ajit mentioned, I think I completely agree with him that given the interest levels in India, we might be able to even accelerate that even further. Coming to your question in terms of energy, I think the topic of energy is right center of the topic in Davos around sustainability, around climate finance, climate change, etc. I think we've come a long way in that journey. In India now, we have close to about 179 gigawatts of clean energy, about 75 gigawatts of solar, 45 gigawatts of wind. So I think we've really come a long way as a nation in this journey of renewable energy. But let me just share a couple of things. I think going forward, India, given its size, the importance of energy is absolutely critical. We are now the third largest importer of oil. We are the fourth largest refiner in the world. And the reason I say that is as we go forward, we're going to need a holistic approach towards energy in our country, whether it's in terms of oil and gas, whether it's in terms of thermal energy, whether it's in terms of renewables. We need to take a holistic approach. But what gets me excited is the fact that we are pushing the envelope in terms of disruption with hydrogen, SAF, biofuels, waste to energy, and there are a lot of new technologies coming in the world of energy. And I think India could really take the lead in this business model and disruption of technology in the new world of new technologies coming in, whether it's in terms of pure energy or whether it's in terms of transportation as well.
Tejpreet, one very quick follow-up. A lot of the green energy project announcements are from large Indian corporations. So that's fantastic. Do you see renewed foreign investor interest in a significant manner in this space in the years to come?
Siddharth, I think the answer is yes, but there's a but. And the but is the fact that in the growth of energy, it's all about returns. And the question is, how do we make sure that investors who are extremely interested coming into India get the return they need? So I think if we can overcome that challenge.
Right.
But from an infrastructure execution perspective, when I talk to a lot of developers in Europe, for example, somebody in Switzerland was telling me to develop one wind farm in Switzerland can take up to 15 years to get all their developments. In India, we do it we build a gigawatt in a couple of years. So I really think we're doing a phenomenal job in terms of execution. The challenge is how do we make it all sustainable from a scale-up perspective, and then we're going to attract a lot of capital into India.
Manoj, I come back to you on the point of premiumization because a lot of our viewers would be interested in hearing your views because it seems in the last couple of years, especially in the residential segment, Manoj, everything is just moving towards the upper end of the market. Do you share that view?
Siddharth, I think if you look at India as a pricing market, and I want to discuss all the asset classes and then come back to residential.
Sure.
If you look at today, office today trades at maybe $12 to $15 per square foot per annum, right? Now, this compared to any of the other gateway cities around the world, which trades between $75 to maybe $150. So we are still, a tenth or maybe 15% of where global pricing is. Now, come back to residential, which was your earlier comment. I think residential today, the median pricing is still $150 or less, right? And that's where the maximum amount of trades are taking place. Sure, I mean, the luxury segment has been doing very well in cities like Mumbai and in Delhi, but that's, you know, that's just the top end of the spectrum. And sure, there is price elasticity in the luxury segment. But when you come to the median sector, which is the $100 to $150 per square foot, that still remains a very price-sensitive market. I think to Tejpreet's earlier comment, I think what India stands to gain is the development cycle time. It's the same in infrastructure and as we see in real estate. And I think that makes the housing more affordable, because you can still book a home today and get a possession in 3 to 4 years' time, which is not the case in most other developed economies around the world.
That's a very good observation. Ajit, we didn't know that COVID would happen in India. And then after COVID, we saw the government come out all guns blazing, saying that instead of throwing money to solve the problem, they're going to focus on capex. And many people, observers, say that a new multi-year capex cycle has started in India. You've seen all facets of India's infrastructure development. Do you agree with that comment that a new multi-year bull run has already started?
As far as the stock market is concerned, I have no comment to offer. But the bull run we are talking about in our industry is that the increase in the infrastructure that we are doing per year. Now, when it comes to various aspects of this, there are still a few things need to be done. The speed of construction has to go up considerably. There are certain elements of any kind of project to be done. Takes a very long time on the drawing board itself, and then many environmental issues come up after work has started. Some of these obstacles are being attempted to be removed, and I hope we do that quickly, because we do really need to go to at least 9 to 10% of GDP spent on infrastructure. If you took China spent 10% and another 3% in agriculture, amounting to 13% of GDP. And India has now the heft of the GDP to make that money as well as to build what we are doing.
In fact, since we spoke about GDP, I want to tell our viewers that the IMF has just said on our platform that they will revise the growth numbers for India pretty sharply, because we've seen other forecasts go up. Mr. Gulabchand, one point, and I want to take this as an example. The new Mumbai project that everyone is talking about was restarted by Devendra Fadnavis 2017 when it got a fresh lease of life. And we've seen delivery which is in some ways a record. Does that signal, and is that an example of how political resolve can cut through various bottlenecks which are inherent to the infrastructure space in a country like India?
Well, I can only second that. Whenever there is a serious political will, all things happen fast. And this is very important. Even in infrastructure, we need to have what we call a responsible infrastructure, which means it addresses the issues of sustainability through improved materials, through different new processes, and ultimately the productivity of what you're doing. Your productivity today is much lower than what the productivity of building construction in the rest of the world, at least America or Europe. So what we now need is improved productivity, which can come not just from speed, but by improved equipment. There's a whole host of things that go into it. And that's also, for example, if you do it very fast, your pollution levels are low, you are encouraging growth in the cities. There are many, many things that happen like this that require us to look at productivity, or what you say, the productivity of resources.
Absolutely.
So the 1 liter should go long in a car, electricity should go a long way. But it's very important that we look at it from a sustainable point of view, not just for the sake of climate change alone, but for our own higher productivity, for our own higher quality. Just an example, most of the innovations in construction has been done by equipment makers. And they came and offered to use different new methods that you do it. I now see a trend in the last 2 or 3 years where the construction industry is demanding the productivity standards from equipment makers.
Absolutely.
And I think this is a good change, because when you do the infrastructure responsibly, you contribute to productivity of resources and therefore contribute to sustainability.
Absolutely. When we started this conversation, just before that, TP told me that I should ask him about AI. So I'm going to switch gears and bring this up, because some of you might be wondering, viewers, how are we switching gears from green real estate infra into AI? But the only constant is change, viewers. So TP, final comments on that from you.
Siddharth, I can't believe it. I'm sure all of us have walked down the promenade today. I don't think there's every store down the promenade has the word AI in it. Even the guy selling bagels has the word AI in it. So,
I'm going to interject there. I just recently heard that a company in India had changed its name and was putting AI, and that kind of sent the stock up. So I hope it's not. No, go
But
ahead.
on a serious note, I think, what I get excited about, in the sense that we've been doing this for a long time before anybody talked about it. But why I get excited about, I think its time has come. I think that's the exciting part of it. And the coming of generative AI is making it all exciting. But I think what I get excited about is that, for example, we are actually taking the power of AI and generative AI and transforming manufacturing around the world in order to drive productivity, quality, sustainability, safety in manufacturing. And I think that's what gets me excited. And I think India can play a critical role in the deployment of AI and generative AI in sectors, at least like in manufacturing, infrastructure, to really make an impact. And I think that's the future. So I think it's our chance to really step up to the plate and show the world that we can do this in India as well.
We started this conversation with India everywhere, and it's almost ending on AI everywhere, at least on the promenade in Davos. I wonder if both of you, Manoj, Ajit, have any closing comments to add.
I just wanted to make a comment on capital flows as well to our industry. And I
Yes.
speak specific from a real estate perspective. I think India is again poised for growth on that. I mean, FDI in real estate is barely $5.5 to $6 billion last year. And I think if you compare it to some of the other growing economies or developed economies, I think this number can only increase. I mean, there is a lot of availability of capital available within our country, as well as interest from FIIs outside. So I think what we are going to see here 2024 and beyond is a very positive outlook for real estate.
Okay. Final quick short comments, sir.
Yes. Use of artificial intelligence is going to have a great impact, particularly on studies, soil studies, region studies, a whole lot of studies that have to be done to create a project and get it right and get it with the lowest of risks. This now will be possible with the help of AI much faster than before.
And you're saying this with specific reference to the infrastructure construction
I'm
space.
talking about specifically infrastructure and construction space. So it's important that we continue on this path, and once AI and we all start understanding it and using it, I believe it will contribute immensely to the productivity of construction industry.
I just want a quick point on that, Siddharth, on the point about AI for infrastructure. In Bangalore Airport, it's a good example. It's one of the largest rollout of Vision AI in the world, where we connected about 500 cameras to run the entire airport with AI to drive customer experience, operational efficiency, security, and safety. So that's another one of the examples of how AI can be used in infrastructure and how we in India can show the world that we can innovate using AI and Gen AI in India.
Well, I didn't know that about the Bengaluru airport, and clearly the Bengaluru airport is being spoken about not just for this, but for the fantastic terminal experience that it has. Tejpreet, Manoj, and Ajit Gulabchand, thank you very much for your time here with us at our studios. You heard a different set of views on critical sectors of the Indian economy and a bit of the Davos flavor thrown in, AI everywhere, On that note, I'm going to end this panel. Thank my guests once again, and you, the viewer. We'll be back with more. Until then, goodbye.
Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe from multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.